When the leases expired on our vehicles a few months ago, we ran into the same problem that a lot of folks are having nowadays, and that is finding another vehicle. Although we started looking a few months ahead of time, plenty of time to find a vehicle under normal circumstances, this particular time we were met with quite a few challenges. The first one was just finding a physical vehicle to look at. It was extraordinarily difficult to find a vehicle on the lot that you could sit in and even take a test drive in. We even had to take a few test drives in a vehicle that wasn't the exact trim level or model that we would be purchasing. And even if we could get a vehicle, it was either the price was significantly higher than it would have normally been, or the delivery date of that vehicle was 6 months or more away, or in some cases both. Then one day, searching online, we did find something unique, a car subscription service from Volvo. As we read more and more into it, it seemed to be a lot like Netflix used to be years and years ago, before most people remember when you actually got DVDs in the mail. The way that it worked is you paid for a subscription and then you were able to get movies sent to you as frequently as you'd like, and you could keep the current one for as long as you'd like and then simply send it back to replace it with another. And that happens to be exactly how this works. The default on this Care by Volvo plan is a 24-month lease with 1,250 miles per month, but after 5 months, you can then either cancel or modify your subscription, meaning you can literally swap out vehicles and drive something else, which is pretty cool. Everything is covered and included, including your insurance and maintenance on the vehicle. Really everything except replacing the actual tires themselves for wear and tear, not for road hazards. Those are actually covered too. Seeing it that the delivery was only a few weeks, we figured we'd just give it a shot. The sign-up process was actually remarkably simple. We went in, picked the vehicle that we liked, did a quick review of the included options, clicked on the sign-up page for the insurance, got a couple documents mailed to us about the monthly pricing and where we would be picking up the vehicle, and we just clicked buy. That was literally it. We got an email shortly after welcoming us to the program, and then a few days later an email from our concierge letting us know that they would be there in case we needed anything and they would keep us up to date. A few days after that, we received an email with a VIN number, and they let us know that we would be getting reached out to from a local dealership so that we could drive there and pick up the vehicle when it was ready. Almost 3 weeks later, we received an email letting us know that the vehicle was ready for delivery, and we would be getting reached out to from the dealership that it was delivered to set up a time. Just like the email said, we received a telephone call. They asked us which day and time we would like to come and pick up the vehicle. We set up an appointment, drove there, and I had to physically sign a handful of papers, and they handed me the keys, and off I went. There was no haggling, overpricing, no really anything as far as what you would expect from a normal dealership. We ended up selecting the XC60 Recharge, which is a hybrid version of the XC60. It adds about 21 to 24 miles of electric range on top of the 400-mile gasoline engine. Considering that my wife's commute is about 16 miles both ways, we've been able to rely entirely on the electric motor and use no gas since ownership, and it has really worked out pretty well. One of the big motivators in our purchasing decision was from a safety aspect. We do have a little one on the way scheduled for this holiday season, so we wanted to make sure whatever vehicle we did pick would be exceptional in the way of safety. When we did our research on safe vehicles, the two brand names that continuously popped up were both Tesla and Volvo. Our family has a good bit of experience with Tesla, but the issue that we had was the delivery time was 6 months or more, so we ended up searching outside of that to try to find a reasonable alternative, and I feel like we did a pretty good job. Starting with the exterior, the vehicle itself is pretty sharp looking. The door to fill up the gas tank is located at the rear passenger side, and the charge port for the vehicle, taking a J1772 Type 2 connector, is located in the front driver's side. Moving to the inside, this is an inscription trim level vehicle, so it has all of the creature comforts and a few extra over-the-top touches such as the crystal gear shift. But overall, the interior is quite impressive. Everything has a very high-end and high-quality feel to it. The one thing that is taking a little bit of getting used to is the infotainment system. Coming from Tesla, I guess I really never appreciated how well done their software and their app integration is. And I've complained many times that I don't have access to my Google Assistant or Android Auto or Siri or Apple CarPlay, and after many, many years of complaining about that, now that I'm sitting in a vehicle that has Android Automotive and Google Assistant built in, I definitely think that the Google integration is fantastic. Now, this is not Android Auto based, where you plug your vehicle in to get a new interface. Android Automotive is that interface built right into the car's infotainment system, meaning that you literally just sign in with your Google account to the vehicle, and then everything is there. My YouTube music, my messages, my calendar, and when my wife gets in, the profile changes and it goes to all of her stuff. But for all of the cool features that there are still some very abstract and just bizarre ways to navigate the interface that I really think need some work. Just getting around and doing some very basic things in the interface can sometimes feel a little clunky, and whenever something crashes or goes wrong, it's not immediately obvious where the root cause of the problem is. One of the more pain-in-the-butt things that happened, and a great example of this, is that my cellular service in the vehicle dropped, and it would just show no signal bars with an X. I searched everywhere for a solution. Went through the touchscreen to find the modem options to turn that on and off. Read through the manual to find the infotainment screen reboot, which is holding the home button in for 10 seconds, and did some additional Google searching and could not find a resolution to the problem. Finally, I just gave up and clicked the on-call button, and when a representative came on, I asked them how I fixed the issue, and the answer was a little bit unbelievable in how obscure the solution was, and that is to literally press the defrost button, then let it go, and then press and hold the defrost button again for 10 seconds until the signal bar indicator flashes and goes through a reboot process. Then you exit the vehicle, leave it sit for an hour, and then return to it where the LTE will be working. And although that actually worked, trying to find that solution online, now that I know what it is, still yields no results, including in the actual manual itself. Moving off of the infotainment system and into actual driving, this vehicle is actually a pleasure to drive. It handles very well. We have very limited experience driving in regular or hybrid mode, as most of our driving has been in the pure electric mode. And that itself has two different modes. Regular drive, where you use the accelerator and the brake like you would in any vehicle, and brake mode, which is designated by the letter B on the gearbox selector, which makes the vehicle drive a lot more like our Tesla does, where letting off of the accelerator creates a regenerative braking experience, much like how the Tesla works, where letting off of the accelerator will slow you down and recharge the battery versus the standard drive mode, letting off the accelerator and having a much further distance to coast. I was actually pleasantly surprised also with the lane keeping features of the vehicle itself, which operates a whole lot like Tesla's autopilot does. Although the system isn't quite as robust as my 2016 version 1.0 of autopilot in my Tesla, I have to say that it is quite impressive on quite a few things. The first one that stuck out to me the most was how you are able to make adjustments to the steering without it disengaging itself. On autopilot, any movement of the steering wheel that is a little bit more than a slight adjustment will cause autopilot to disengage, whereas on the Volvo, it will take your recommendation of the steering wheel input in stride and help correct along with you until it gets back to a point where it's taking over again. And I'm also really impressed with the automatic lane changes that are initiated by the turn signal stock. It switches lanes very confidently and does have the ability to overtake vehicles when you are in the passing lane. Some things that are not quite so awesome are definitely its handling of curves. Specifically, if the curve is anything more than gradual, it will definitely require a little bit of assistance from the driver in order to not cross over one of the lines. Another thing that I don't much care for is the lack of any visualization in the instrument cluster whenever any driver assistance features are engaged. Other than a small image of a road at the top of the instrument cluster and a steering wheel with a few lines showing the distance to the cars in front of you that are set, that's really all there is to see whenever the driver assistance features are enabled. There aren't any indications on what the vehicle is thinking, so to speak, like you would see on autopilot. And I get that this might be by design to prevent any overconfidence with the driver assistance systems, but in the end, I still do prefer to see what the vehicle sees, as it helps me identify potential issues in where I will have to disengage the system to take over for myself. I also really like the way that the voice assistant is integrated into a lot of the vehicle settings and functions. It's a lot more so than in most of the other vehicles that I've driven. Turn off the heated steering wheel.
All right, turning off the steering wheel heater.
Turn off the seat heater.
Okay, turning off the seat heater for the driver.
Turn on the ventilated seats.
Got it, turning on seat fan for the driver.
Change the temperature to 72 degrees.
Okay, changing the temperature to 72 degrees.
Play Spring 2021 playlist.
Got it, your YouTube music playlist called Spring 2021. Here you go.
As we get more drive time with the vehicle, I'll be sure to make some updated videos on things that I find or any little helpful tips that I discover. But the primary purpose of me making this video was that I was thoroughly impressed with the method in which we purchased the vehicle. I think that this vehicle subscription service, which is a lot more flexible than a standard lease would be, is definitely the way of the future, and I can see a lot more manufacturers going this route. While my wife and I were going around to various dealerships looking for a replacement vehicle for our lease turn-ins, all I could think of when I left was just how I hated the dealership experience. And this experience was such a breath of fresh air that I really wanted to make a video highlighting it, as I really hope that more people will take a look at it and see that it really is an awesome way to buy a vehicle. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will be sure to answer them the best that I can. Other than that, I hope that everyone's staying safe out there, and thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it.